Welcome back,
Thank
everybody.
you.
I'm very sorry.
Means a lot. It's good to be home, my friend.
Kick your boots. Shabbos. I gotta tell you, it was the sukkah offering where they went from 13 bowls down
Yeah,
to
right.
7, and then on Shmini Atzeres to 1. We have one. So that's the whole thing about the diminution of the animalistic instinct inside of us, a diminution of the ego, and how you have to reduce it slowly. Then you can snap, you reduce from 13 to 7, and then from 7 to 1. It's from
All for
Italy.
people who
Yeah.
love korbanot. We have korbanot. Good Shabbat.
Shabbos and Shabbos, you're not glad.
It's awesome.
She was old.
She raised millions for Hadassah. Millions.
What?
She raised millions of dollars for Hadassah.
Is that so?
My father was ADL, and my mother was Hadassah. But he also gave University of Penn. They gave. They gave. That's how I was raised. Jewish causes. All right. Where's my CPR? Good. Hi, Deborah. You're on. You've got 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes. The early birds are going to have to be patient. Hi, Ben. Shabbat Shalom. All right.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about your
I know, I got your note. Thank you.
So sorry.
Thank you.
You know, it was nice that you mentioned it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's strange. I mean, she hasn't really been my normal mother for 2 years. But still, of course, I can't call her. I can't. Well, it's a strange thing. It's just that connection is now gone. It's really strange. No, hey, it's life, and we're very thankful for incredible life she has.
Yeah.
So
She was a
our
brilliant,
mourning is.
brilliant and fascinating woman.
She was
I
a.
learned a lot from the church.
She was a great.
What time are we?
Yes, she was.
What time are we? Thank you very much.
Good morning, Deborah.
I know the rules, Rabbi. We don't talk about expressions of sympathy on Shabbat. It's the only time I
Of
see
course you can. No, absolutely allowed.
I thought we
Of
were.
course. Oh, no. We say when mourners walk in after Chador, they will say, I'm a Kohen.
I wanted you to know how I felt that Shabbos became early. Well, I wrote you a letter which would tell you how I handled it. I handled it twice, 3 times, 4 times, the siblings and parents. But I enjoyed your brother's eulogy. One of the girls had it on her tape, and she played it for me on the phone.
Oh, wow.
When I see her, when we're allowed to meet again, she's going to show it to me so much more.
So my brother had COVID too.
We did the best we could. Spoke from our
Right.
heart.
I wanted you to know how I felt.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. What did I say?
Happy Gesundheit.
Thank you. I'm still in a cloud, but I'm getting there.
Oh, you waited. How nice.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Thank you. Hi, Dana. Good Shabbos. Hello. Hello. Does this work at all? Can you hear me?
No.
It's dead, yeah.
It's not turned on.
Oh, that would, really? You turn it on
I
from
turned
there?
mine on.
Oh, this one is on.
It's on.
This one is on.
Yeah, that one's on. But this is the local one.
There's an on-off switch. Does it show battery?
Says battery. Something's not hooked up. Hi, Sue. It's all right. I use the regular. Thanks, Sue. At 10:45, I was so tired. I had just come back. Got a nice your son sent me a nice. We have a nice relationship. Yeah. Thank you. You okay? Good. I guess we'll have to do without the little mic. We can't. It's not working. But this is fine. Gives me less flexibility. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. You can't hear? Can you hear now? Good. I just have to. What? Ma? Ma? No? There's the link. Let me say hello. I can't start until I say
First of all, we're happy if I would go back some years when there was no amplification.
I'm glad to be back. I've got a lot to prepare. We have a great year coming up. I hope. Let's see, how are we doing? 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. I went right to the page. How do you like? Oh, does he live here? It's right. It's like everybody's got. I had it. I went to London. I immediately got sick. 2 days later. But it's not. I've had common colds worse than what I really had. I had one day I was in bed. Hi, Adele. No, I had COVID. It was not. Yeah, the same. It was not a big deal. I've had colds much worse, where I couldn't speak and I had laryngitis. I didn't have any of that. No cough. I have little cough. No fever. No, nothing. I just let it go. I didn't need it. Same thing. If that's COVID, then there are worse things. There are many worse things to have. Okay, 1 more minute. I like beginning on time, not too early, not late.
Of course, that's a very expensive. Yeah, that's yours if you don't.
Clean my glasses and then we'll begin. Alan Mendoza, who was here, who I saw in London when I was there, to show you who he is. He was asked by Netanyahu about 6 months before he left, to be his spokesman in Israel, with the promise that he would be Israel's next UN representative. So that might happen going forward, and he's with us. Really incredible person. Brilliant. That was a revelation. Okay, I think it is 9:30. Let's begin on page 147, Shochenad.
Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo.
Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo. V'yishin tzlo v'tzadikim titbaro.
V'chatu v'rananu tzadikim b'Adonai l'sharim navatihila. Lefi yesharim tithalal uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach. Uvelshon chasidim titromam uvekerev kedoshim titkadash uvmakalot revivot amcha beit Yisrael. Lehodot lehalel leshabeach Lefaer, leromem, lehader, levarech, lealei, ukaleis, al kol divrei, shirov v'tishbachot, David ben Yishai, avdecha meshichecha. Yishtabak shimcha, liad malkeinu. Berachot v'hodahot me'ata v'yad olam Baruch atah Adonai El melech gadol b'tishbachot El hahodaot Adon haniflaot Habocher b'shirei zimra Melech El chei ha'olamim
Please rise, Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah Be'alma divra kirutei V'yamlich malchutei B'chayei uvyomei chon Uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uv'izman kariv V'yimaru amen Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach Le'olam amei amaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalau Shemei dekudesha brichu Le'elam mimka berchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma v'imaru amen Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzer or uvarei choshech Oseh shalom uvarei et hakol
150
Hakol yoducha v'hakol yeshabechucha
El paten bekol yadot sharei mizrach Ami elar samalach abrachamim uvtuvo mechadesh
Efes biltecha go aleinu limot hamashiach ve'en dome lecha Moshienu litriat hametim
Eladon, page 151.
Eladon akol hamasim baruch umvorach befikon neshama godlo v'tuvo male olam da'ad udvuna sovavimoto Hamid Gael Hayot HaKodesh V'nedar Bechavod
al hamekava zechut umishor lifnei chiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei chavodo tovim me'arot shebara Eloheinu yitaram b'da'at b'vina ufhaschel koach ugvura natan bahem liot moshlim b'kerev tevel Malaim ziv ufikim noga na'ezivam b'cholam Smechim b'tzeitam v'sasim b'voam Osim b'yem aratzon konam Pe'er v'chavod notnim lishmo Tahola v'rina lezecher malchuto Kara l'shemesh v'yizrachor Ra'a v'hitkin surat havana Shevach notnim lo Kol tzeva marom Tif ered ukedula Serafim v'yofanim v'chayot HaKodesh Yai-da-dai, lai-dai-da-da-dai Yai-dai-da-dai-dai, yai-dai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai Yai-dai-dai, yai-dai-da-da-dai Yai-dai-da-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai La'el asher shavat mikol ha'ma'asim
Yom HaShvi'i, Alav Yashav V'kisei Kavodo. Zeh Sheva Shel Yom HaShvi'i.
Titbarach Mosheinu ashevech ma'aseh yadecha V'yal me'arei or she'asita Yafa'aru chasela
153.
Titbarach Tzureinu Malkeinu V'go'aleinu B'rei Kedoshim Titbarach Tzureinu Malkeinu V'go'aleinu B'rei Kedoshim V'chulam pochim epihem b'kudusha u'v'tohara b'shira u'v'zimra u'mvarachim u'mshabachim u'mfa'arim u'ma'artim u'makdishim u'mamlichim et shem ha'el
V'kulam mikablim alei Moshe v'Shem Zeh.
Lehakdish liotzram b'nachat ruach b'safa v'ra v'nima kedosha kulam ke'echad onim v'yomrim b'yira Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzevahot Meloch al haaretz kivodo V'ha'ofanim v'chayot ha'kodesh Bara'ash gadol mitnasim liyomat serafim Liyomatam meshabachim v'yomrim Baruch kevod Adonai mimakomo Le'el baruch nimo titenu Lamelech el chai v'kayam Zmirot yomeru v'tishbachot yashmiyu Ki hu levado poel givurot Oseh hadashot bal milchamot Zarei tzedakot Matzmiach yeshuot Borei refurot Nora tehilot Adon haniflaot Hamchadesh betuvo b'chol yom tamid Maaseh v'reishit kamur Liosei orim gedolim Ki leolam chasto Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir V'nis kechulanu mehera lioro Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot
Page 154.
Ahava Rabba Avtanu Adonai Eloheinu חמלה גדולה ותרה חמלת עלינו, אבינו מלכנו בעבור אבותינו, שבטחו בך אבינו מלכנו, ותלמדי חוקי חיים, כן דכוננו למדנו, אבינו האב הרחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבינו השכיל לשמוע, ללמוד ולמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והערננו בתורתך, ודבק לבנו במצוותיך, ויחל לבבינו לאהבה וליראה שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מרבה כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת להודות לך, ויחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol miyotecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshapecha uvkomecha ukshatam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam amzazot beitecha uvisharecha. Page 156, we continue with the Shema. Hayim Shema Tishma Mitzvotaya Asher Elokim Zevet Hayom V'natati Mitzar Tzichem Bitol Yishamru Lachem V'chara V'nabech V'shema V'samtem D'vara Eilem L'man Yibu Yimechem V'nirchem Al Hadama Shenishma V'lotechem Latet Lahem Ki Mei HaShamayim Al Haaretz Vayomer Adonai El Moshe Lemor Taber El Bnei Yisrael V'yamarta Aleihem V'yasu Lahem Tzitzit Al Kanfei V'nehem V'dorotam ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בתל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת
יציב נכון וקיים
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וכיסו נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו ליד קיימת
ודבריו חיים וקיימים page 157
אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו פודנו ומצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם Ram v'nisa gado v'nora mashpil ge'im magbi hashifolim motzi asirim afode anavim v'yozer dalim v'yonel yamo v'yet shavam elav tehilo li'el elyon baruch hu mavarach Moshe Miriam uvnei Yisrael lecha anu shira besimcha rabba v'yamru chulam o mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha Nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot osefel Shira chadasha shipchu geulim Leshimcha asafat hayam Yachad kulam hodu v'himlichu Ve'amaru Adonai imloch Le'alam va'ed Yandai da 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 Yai dai 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 Sur Yisrael Kuma b'Yezrat Yisrael Uftech Enamecha Yehuda v'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzvot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Gal Israel.
We begin the Amidah Shacharit Shabbat, page 159, through the Kedusha and the remainder after the Kedusha in silence through page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el, Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanovra, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vikonei HaKol, Vizocher Chastei Avot, Umevi Goel Livnei V'nehem, Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Fokedo Moshiach Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ufokei Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim Atavrav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei Metim Barachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melach melech meimid umachayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah lahachayot meitim. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hametim.
Nekadei Shittim Gadol Vashem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei Marom, Kakatuv Vayanav V'Azel Zav Yamar.
Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Kashem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei Marom, Kakatuv Hayad Neviyecha V'Karazel Zev Yamar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Meloch ha'aretz kevodo.
Az v'kol rash gadol adir v'chel mashmim kol min asim l'matzorafim l'matam baruch yameru.
Az bekor ra'ash gadol adir v'chazak mashmim kol. Az bekor ra'ash gadol adir v'chazak mashmim kol. Mit nasim liumat serafim, mit nasim liumat serafim, liumatam baruch yomeru, baruch kevod Adonai mimakomo. Mimkom Malkeinu Tofia, Mimkom Malkeinu Tofia, V'tim loch aleinu, V'tim loch aleinu, Ki mechakim anachnu lach. Matai timlok b'tzion, B'kara b'yameinu li'alam va'ed tishkon. Titkadal v'titkadash, B'toch Yerushalayim irecha. L'dor v'ador, l'dor v'ador, U'lenetzach netzachim. V'yeneinu tirena, tirena malchutecha, kadavar ha'amur b'shirei huzecha. Al yedei David Mashiach tzidkecha, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Tzion, L'dor v'ador, Hallelujah. L'dor v'ador, L'dor v'ador, L'dor v'ador, Nagid golecha. L'dor v'ador, L'dor v'ador, L'dor v'ador, Nagid golecha. ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גואלך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גואלך. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, וקדוש אתה. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
אמן. ישמח משה במטה.
Oh, say shalom, shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu. Ve'al Yisrael ve'imaru amen. Ve'imaru amen.
Kaddish Shalem, page 167.
Yitgadal v'yikdash me rabbah, be'amad ivra kirute v'yamlik malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agalav izman kari v'imaru, amen. Yehesh me rabbah mevorach, le'olam amei homaya, yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalau shemei dekudesha brichu le'elamim kol brachata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yama v'imaru amen. Titkabal zalot tehon v'utahon d'chol Yisrael kodam avahon divishmaya v'imaru amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, amen.
Thank you, Deborah. Take a little pause. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is good to be back. I've been all over the place and so many emotions, and to be surrounded by people you love really makes all the difference in the world. So I wish you all Shabbat Shalom. Looking forward to a great year ahead. I did some sneaky preparations while I was away, and we have a great program lined up. And we're going to have 2 classes this year on finishing what we started last year on modern Jewish history from the 17th century to those who enjoyed that class. And then we're going to discuss something that a lot of Jews are not aware of, and that's Jewish thought. What do we actually think about the great issues of life, our philosophy? And we're going to take a journey through all the great philosophers and how Jewish thought responded to the different stages in history. It'll be quite interesting, I hope. And today I'm going to share some of that about the way basically 3 camps deal with loss and sorrow and losing. So it's on my mind a lot, but there's a great verse in the Torah portion that links to what I'm going to have to say to you today. So those are some of my thoughts. Let's now read the Torah. Let's prepare for the reading of the Torah. Page 168. Seder Hosat Torah. Oh, okay, changing of the guard here. Cantor Marie Simon.
Hein kamelcha v'Elohim Adonai v'yinkemasecha malechutecha malechut kol amim u'memshaletecha b'kol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam v'ed, Adonai oz yamo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, avarachamim, eitiva v'irtzon, etzion, tivenechot Yerushalayim, tivenechot Yerushalayim, ki v'chol levad batachnu, melech ram v'nisa, Adon olamim. Vayehi bin Saron, vayomer Moshe, Koma Adonai, v'yavutzu oivecha, v'yanusu misanecha, mipanecha, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, u'davar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Lamo Yisrael, B'kedushato, Perich Shemei B'maurei Olamah.
Torah Adonai T'mima Mishivat Nafesh Edut Adonai Nemana Mach gimat peti. Pikudi Adonai Yisharim Mesamche Lev. Mitzvat Adonai bara mirat einayim. Yirat Adonai Tohara omedet la'ad. Mishpatei Adonai emet. Tzadku yachdav. The Torah of God is perfect. It revives the spirit. The testimony of God is trustworthy, teaching wisdom to the simple. The precepts of God are just, rejoicing the heart. The commandments of God are pure, enlightening the eyes. Reverence for God is pure, enduring forever. The judgments of God are true. They are altogether just. From the psalmist.
Bibi anarachet veli shamay kadisha kadisha yakira anay maritush becha anarachet bayanarachet veli shamay kadisha Kadisha Yakira Anay Maritush Bechan Yeheira Chodamach Itikach Libi Beoraita Itashli Mishalin Libi Eli bade cholamach Yisrael letal chayin velishlam. Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Gadol Adonai iti, Onerom Ma Shemo. Yachdav Lecha Adonai Da'gevura v'tiferet v'haneh Ki chol b'shamayim v'aretz Ki chol b'shamayim Lecha Adonai hamlacha v'mitnaseh lecho Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu l'adom raglav kadoshu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu Kodesho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Adonai Romemu Adonai Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Ve'ishtachavu leHakodesho Ve'ishtachavu leHakodesho Ve'ishtachavu leHakodesho
Adonai Eloheinu Rovemu.
Shabbos. Okay, everyone. Well, if you like sacrifices, this is the reading for you. Parshat Pinchas. I'll never forget when I was in London, I did a scholar rabbi in residence at another synagogue where Louis Jacobs was the rabbi. And they said their Torah reader got sick or something, or broke his ankle playing football. Soccer, they call soccer football there. And they said, Rabbi, could you please read the portion? I said, you do a third? No, the entire portion. So I'm very familiar with this text of Pinchas. We are looking at page 931, where we're going to be picking it up with all the sacrifices brought, beginning with the holiday of Pesach, then Shavuot, then Sukkot, and that's pretty much in the text. And I think that a good way of, for me, of trying to make some sense of remembering all these sacrifices. You know, we're a people that has a hard time letting go of our history. We are a people of history, and that's been our tremendous strength. We speak about what happened in the Second Temple period, or this time this is the tabernacle, even preceding that, and the First Temple, as if it occurred not too long ago. But it's one of the great joys of being Jewish, is that we remember the whole package. Obviously, there are things that we don't do today. I'm not sure that in our lifetime the temple's going to be rebuilt, so I don't see all these sacrifices coming back. So why do we read? Why do we remember that? We remember because that's what our people did over 2,000 years ago. And I have to tell you, it's a warning for the rest of the world. When you forget your past, you forget your nation in all of its details. This, to me, is one of the great warnings about the United States of America today. When it grinds its history into the dust and forgets where it came from and why it came from and the philosophical underpinnings of why we are here, our unique history, we're done. Absolutely done. So with that in mind, that's how I read this text. I am so glad we remember all the faults, all the blemishes, all the things that we don't do anymore, but we remember because it's all part of our inheritance. So with that in mind, let's begin the reading. The very last verse on page 931, Uvachodesh Harishon.
ויעזור ויגן וישלח על החוסים בו ונאמר אמן.
Amen.
הכל הגודל אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה. יעמוד מאיר טביה בן רב שלום וחנה שרה לעליית הכהן. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
Baruch Hu Adonai Baruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Goed Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Olam Asher Baruch Arbanu. Mikol Hu Amim Masum Lana Torah Hamas. V'chai Elohim Shechenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosei Torah.
Amen.
ובחודש הראשון ב14 יום לחודש פסח לאדוני וב15 יום בחודש הזה חג 7 ימים מצות יאכל ביום הראשון מקרא קודש כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו והקרבתם אישה עולה לאדוני Harim b'nei vakar shnayim be'ayil echad b'shiv'ah chvasim b'nei shana tmimim yiyu lachem umin chasam soles blulav hashamen shlosha esronim lapor ושני עשרונים לעיל תעשו. יסרון תעשה לכבש האחד לשבעת הכבשים, ושעיר חטוס אחד לכפר עליכם. מלבד עולס הבוקר אשר לעולס התמיד תעשו את אלה. כל אלה תעשו ליום 7 ימים לחם אישי ריח ניחוח לאדוני על עולס התמיד יעשה ונזכו. וביום השביעי מקרא קודש יהיה לכם כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו.
Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam asher nasa לנו terasim es b'chai olam natav tzachenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein Torah.
Amen. Don, you're all ready for maftir during Pesach week. You're all set.
Yamod Yitzchak Alter ben Chaim Berivka Lalia Halevi.
The reading for the second Aliyah is found on page 932, verse 26.
Shavuot.
ברכו את אדוני וברוך.
ברוך אדוני ברוך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני ברוך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. והיום הביקורים והקריבכם מנחה חדשה לאדוני בשבועותיכם מקרא קודש יהיה לכם כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו. והקריבתם עולה לריח ניחוח לאדוני פרים בני בקר שניים איל אחד 7 כבשים בני שנה ומנחתם סולת בלולה ושמן 3 עשרונים לפר האחד 2 עשרונים לאיל האחד יסרון לכבש האחד לשבעת הכבשים שאיריזים אחד לכפר עליכם מלבד עולת התמיד ומנחתו תעשו תמימים יהיו לכם
מלאכם ונזקיהם.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וכי העולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
Yamdu Yosef Aram ben Chaim Yehoshua Shlomo Sarah bat Abraham Yocheved Laliyah Hashlishi.
The Torah reading continues on page 933, chapter 29.
And this is Rosh Hashanah now, 7th month. Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'na'asan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. ובחודש השביעי באחד לחודש מקרא קודש יהיה לכם כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו יום תרועה יהיה לכם ועשיתם עולה לריח ניחוח לאדוני פר בן בקר אחד איל אחד כבשים בני שנה 7 תמימים ומנחתם סולת בלולה בשמן 3 עשרונים לפר 2 עשרונים לאיל ויסרון אחד לכבש האחד לשבעת הכבשים ושעירים אחד לחטאת לכפר עליכם מלבד עולת החודש ומנחתיו ועולת התמיד ומנחתיו ונזקיהם כמשפטם לריח ניחוח של אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein Torah.
Amen. Yasher Koach to Dr. Joel and Sally Fieder. And Joel has come to the Torah with Sally in memory of Joel's father, Dr. Harold J. Feder Zichrono Livracha, my dear friend.
Yamad Jonathan Benjamin. Simcha Ilan Ben Mordechai Yisrael Aliyah Harvey.
The reading for the Revi'i Aliyah is found on page 933, the last line on the page.
Yom Kippur. Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Vaed.
Asher Bachabon Mikol Hamim Benotan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Notein Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Uvasor lachodesh hashvi'i hazeh mikra kodesh yeh lachem v'initem et nafshotechem homolacha lo tasu v'hikraftem ola ladonai re'ech nechoach par ben bakar echad ayil echad kivasim b'nei shana shiva tmimim yihiyu lachem Umin chatam solet belulav ashamen shlosha esronim lapar shenei esronim la'ayel ha'echad Isaron lakeves ha'achad lishivat hakvasim Tzirizim echad chatat milvad chatat hakipurim v'olad hatamid Umin chatat v'nizkehem
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayil ha'matov v'tzochenu Baruch atah Adonai notein Torah.
Amen. Yasher Koach again, Paul.
Shabbat Moshe Yehuda Begila Laliyah HaChamishit.
I want to wish a Yasher Koach to Eugene Schwartz, who is about to go to Hungary. And I know, Eugene, that you have long roots in this congregation, in their generosity and goodness. I just want to wish you Yasher Koach. Oh, you're not? I'm sorry, Stephen. I never met Eugene Schwartz, so I'm sorry, Stephen, so much. Well, Eugene, wherever you are, we wish you a Nesiya Tova. That's unbelievable.
The Torah reading continues on page 934 at the Shvi'i marking.
Sukkot. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Uvachamisha asar yom lachodesh hashvi'i mikra kodesh yeh lachem kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu v'hagotem hak l'Adonai shivat yamim V'hikraftem ola Yishei reach nichoach l'Adonai Harim b'nei vachar Shlosha asar elim shanayim Kevasim b'nei shana Arba'a asar tamimim Yiyu umin chatam Solek balula b'shemen Shlosha esronim Lapar ha'echad L'shlosha asar parim Shnei esronim La'ayil ha'echad L'shnei ha'elim Isaron, Isaron, la keves ha'echad, la arba'a asar kevasim, ve'aser izim echad chatat, milvad olah hatamid, uminchata beniskah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher notan lanu et Torah emet, v'chayei olam natah betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yesher Koach to Merle Haber, in memory of her parents' love and their anniversary. Yesher Koach, Stephen.
Mordechai ben Yisachar v'Golda.
Mordechai ben Yisachar v'Golda l'Aliyah HaShishis.
The reading for the Shishi Aliyah is found at the top of page 935.
And all the offerings brought during the week of Sukkot symbolized the culmination of history. It was the first United Nations. Every animal was offered, I think it was 66 or 69, all represented the different nations of the world. So the whole weight of the movement of the sacrifices that we just mentioned lead to this culmination of this universality, which is reflected in, there is a philosophical scheme in this framework. Just wanted to point that out. Verse 17.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai varach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai varach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. V'yom hasheni parim shana bas. Say what? Am I in the wrong place?
No,
That's what I said. Amen. V'yom hasheni parim b'nei bakar shnei masailim shnayim kevasim b'nei shana b'asat mimim michatam v'nishkeihem laparim lailim lakavasim b'misparam kamishpat u'siyerezim echad chatat milavad olad adamid michatam v'nishkeihem v'yom hashlishi parim ashtei asar elim shnayim kevasim b'nei shana b'asat mimim u'michatam v'nishkeihem laparim lailim v'lakavasim k'misparam k'mishpat u'siyir chatat echad milavad olad adamid michata v'niska u'vayom ari parim asara elim shnayim kvasim b'nei shana b'asat mimim michatam v'nishkeihem laparim lailim v'lakavasim מספרם כמשפט וסיירים אחד חטאת מלבד הולדת המין מחטא ונזקה וביום החמישי פרים תשעה אלים שניים כבשים בני שנה בעשת תמימים מנחתם ונזקיהם לפרים לילי ולכבשים מספרם כמשפט וסיר חטאת אחד מלבד הולדת המית
ומתחתם ונזקה
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yamod.
Chazan Rachmiel, Ben Tzvi Aryeh, Aruva, Ahuva, sorry, Laliyah Hashvi.
Another Connecticut Yankee. Yes.
Yeah, you just give me your.
It's true. You know how I feel.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'char banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Uvayom Ashishi Parim Shmona Elim Shanayim Kavasim B'nai Shana Arba Asar Temimim Umikhatam V'niskehem Leparim Le'elim V'lakvasim V'misparam Kemishpat Useir Chatat Echad Melvad Oladet Tamid Minchata Unesacheha Ubayom Ashvi Parim Shiva Elim Shanayim Kavasim B'nai Shana Arba Asar Temimim Umichatam V'nizkehem Leparim Le'elim V'lakvasim B'misparam Kemishpat Useir Chatat Echad Melvad Oladet Tamid Minchata V'nizka Ubayom Hashmini Yom Hashmini, but Yom Hashmini Yetzer Tielachem Kolam Maleket Avodah Lo Ta'asu V'Kravtem Ola Ishe Reach Nechoach Ladanai Parachad Hailachad Kavasim B'nai Shana Shiva Temimim Minchatam V'nizkehem Lapar La'ayol V'lakvasim B'misparam Kemishpat Useir Chatat Echad Melvad Oladet Tamid Umichata V'nizka Eile ta'asu ladanai b'moadechem Lavav minidroichem v'nidvotechem Liolotechem u'leminchotechem V'liskehem u'lshomechem V'yom Moshe el b'nei Yisrael kocho Asher tziva Adonai et Moshe
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach to Cantor Roger Weisberg, who is here with Audrey, new members of our synagogue. My chaver, welcome. Baruch haba. That's the official welcome. Please rise, everyone, for our Misha Berach, for those who are ill. Mi sheberach avotenu Avraham Yaakov imotenu Sarah Rivka Chavalea Yivarech v'rapeh et kol hacholim Tevye Gershon ben Aaron Aviv Rivka Tzvi Yitzchak ben Shima v'Chaya David Yosef ben Chana Basha Yisrael bat Shulamit Rivka Shifra bat Sarah Rezel Leah bat Sarah Mary Barton Yudit bat Rachel Fega bat Avraham Louis Leffer Zachary Zimmerman, Shaul Beryl Ben Vevel, Miriam Bat Nacha, Matis Chaim, David Nerens, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachim Yimleihem L'chaskel L'rapotam, V'yishlach Lahem Mihra Refuah Shlema L'mishamayim, Refuat Nefesh, Refuat Aguf, B'toch Sha'ar Chocholim, Chazek Yididei Oskim B'tzorchehem, Shabbatim Mizol Kurov Ukurov Lavo, Hashtabizman Karim V'Nomar. Amen. May our God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all we have mentioned in our prayers this morning, as well as those unmentioned in your prayers and your hearts. May the Holy One mercifully restore them all to complete health, the health and vigor of mind and body, together with all who are ill. May God grant strength to those who care for them, tend to them, and though it's Shabbat, a time to refrain from crying out, we yet hope and pray that healing is at hand as we say, Amen. Mi sheberach avoteinu mikor haberacha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor haberacha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'almad yibrachirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman karim ve'imiru Amen. Yehi shmei Yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha v'yeh lamin kol birchata v'shirata tushkevata v'nechemata amiram
Talmud, Devorah bat Pinchas v'Yehudit, Maftira.
The reading for the Maftir Aliyah is found on page 936 at the Maftir marking.
Please be seated.
Thank you. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. B'yom hashmini etzer tiyeh lachem u'kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu v'kravtem olah yishe reach nichawak l'Adonai par echad ayl echad kavasim b'nei shana shiva tamimim minchatam v'nizkehem l'par l'ayil v'lakvasim b'misparam k'mishpat u'seir chatat echad milvad olad tamid u'minchatav v'nizka Ele ta'asu l'Adonai b'moadechem levad minidrechem v'nivotechem li'alotechem u'minchotechem u'liskehem u'shamechem v'yomer Moshe el b'nei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Adonai et Moshe.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise.
Yamod hamagbiat amod hagalelet.
Okay, whenever you're comfortable. V'zot haTorah asher sham Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. La 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 la, I want to keep going. La 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 la. We turn to page 968 for the Haftarah. It's not the Haftarah connected to the portion, but the first Haftarah that precedes the coming of Tisha B'Av. And this is the beginning of a mourning period for our people from the 17th of Tammuz until Tisha B'Av. We'll have of course, our commemoration here. We'll get notice about that. The prophet Jeremiah. Prophet Jeremiah could be very hard on the people. He saw the people disintegrating and tried to figure out why. And he pointed to all kinds of individual morality was his thing. That people were offering the sacrifices, doing what they were supposed to do, but not coming close to the expectations that God wanted of our people. And that was the theology then. God did not do things out of the open air. There had to be a reason. And Jeremiah tries to find the reason. But in all of these admonitions leading up to Tisha B'Av, he also says, as he did, he bought property in Jerusalem. Because one of the pillars of the prophets, those of you who are in my class remember from last year, was Sherit Yisrael. That Israel could never be destroyed. No matter how rotten and horrible we were, we would return to Jerusalem. We would rebuild the temple. And that's why Jeremiah was one of the great, great saviors of our people in his time in the 6th century before the Common Era. So Deborah, please chant for us the words of Jeremiah, page 968.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emorim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe abdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Divrei Yirmiyahu ben Chilkiyahu min hakohanim asher ba'anotot be'eretz binyamin asher haya davar Adonai elav bimei Yoshiyahu ben Amon melech Yehuda bishlos esrei shana lemocho vayhi bimei Yehoyakim ben Yoshiyahu melech Yehuda ad tom ashtei esrei shana letzidkiyahu ben Yoshiyahu melech Yehuda ad galot Yerushalayim b'chodesh hachamishi. Vayhi davar Adonai elai lemor B'terem etzorcha v'betem yedaticha uv'terem teitzei meirechem hikdashticha navi lagoyim netaticha va'omar Adonai Elohim hine lo yadati daber ki na'ar anochi Vayomer Adonai Elai Al Tomar Na'ar Anochi Ki Al Kol Asher Ashlachacha Telech Ve'et Kol Asher Atzavacha Tidaber Al Tira Mipanehem Ki itecha ani lahatzilecha ne'um Adonai Vayishlach Adonai et yado vayaga al pi Vayomer Adonai Elai hine natati devarai beficha Re'ei hivkaticha hayom hazeh al hagoyim v'al hamamlachot lintosh v'lintot u'ha'avid v'laharos livnot v'lintoah Vayhi davar Adonai Elai lemor ma'ata ro'eh Yirmiyahu va'omar malkeil shaked ani ro'eh Vayomer Adonai Elai hetafta lirot Ki shoked ani al devari la'asotot Vayhi davar Adonai Elai shenit lemor ma'ata ro'eh va'omar Sir nafuach ani ro'eh ufanav mipanei tafona Vayomer Adonai Elai mitzafon tipatach hara'ah al kol yoshevei haaretz Ki hinani korei lechol mishpachot mamlechot tzafona ne'um Adonai uva'u v'natanu ish kiso petach Sha'arei Yerushalayim V'al kol chomoteha saviv V'al kol arei Yehuda V'dibarti mishpatai otam Al kol ra'atam Asher azavuni Vaykateru le'Elohim hacherim Vayishtachavu lama'asei yadehem Ve'ata tezor motnecha Ve'kamta v'dibarta alehem Et kol asher anochi atzavecha Al techat mipanehem pen achitacha lifnehem va'ani hine netaticha hayom Me'ir mivtzar ulamud barzel uchamot nachoshet al kol haaretz lemalchei Yehuda lisareha lechohaneha ulam haaretz v'nilchamu elecha v'lo yuchelu lach ki itacha ani ne'um Adonai lahatzilecha vayhi devar Adonai elai lemor haloch v'karata ve'oznei Yerushalayim lemor Ko amar Adonai zacharti lach chesed ne'urayich ahavat kululotayich lechtech acharai bamidbar be'eretz lo zerua Kodesh Yisrael Adonai Reshit Tevuah Ato kol ochalav yashamu ra'a tavo alehem ne'um Adonai Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol ha'olamim tzadik b'chol hadavrot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'yoseh ha'medaber u'mekayim shekal devarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha v'devar echad midvarecha achor lo yashuv rekam ki el melech ne'eman v'rachaman ata baruch ata Adonai ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav Rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu v'la'aluvat nefesh toshia b'mheira v'yameinu Baruch ata Adonai mesameach Tzion b'vaneha Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha uvemalchut Beit David mishichecha b'mheira yavo v'yagel libeinu al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu od achirim et kavodo ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yichbe neiro li'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Magen David.
Amen.
Al HaTorah, v'al HaAvodah, v'al HaNavim, v'al Yom HaShabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'linucha, lechavod u'letifaret, al HaKol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, u'mevarchim otach, yitbarach shemecha, befi kochai tamid li'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai.
Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Yasher Koach, Deborah. Beautifully done. Please rise, everyone, and turn to page 177. We're going to invoke the prayer for our country and for the state of Israel. First for our country, for these United States, which needs our prayers and a lot of goodwill to change the mood in the country. Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom never part from our land. And Tfilah Lishlom Medinat Yisrael on page 178 in the Hebrew. Avinu Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Golo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagen Aleha be'efrat chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha v'Amitcha, Larasheha, Soreha v'Yoatzeha, V'taknem be'etza tova milfanecha, Chazei kedidei megini eretz kodshenu, V'hanchi leim Eloheinu Yeshua, V'ateret nitzachon ta'atrem, V'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam v'yoshveha. V'nomar, Amen. Avinu shebeshamayim, stronghold and redeemer of the people of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen. Another election is coming. Was it like the 9th in the last 4 years or whatever? But nobody gets hurt, and it's a very difficult democracy there. But it somehow works, and we pray for Israel's peace. Page 180. We remain standing for Birkat HaChodesh, the coming of the new month.
שתחדש עלינו את החודש הבא לטובה, לטובה, לטובה ולברכה. ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים, חיים של שלום, חיים של טובה, חיים של ברכה, חיים של פרנסה, חיים של פרנסה, חיים של חילוץ עצמות, חיים שיש בהם, שיש בהם יראת שמיים ויראת החטא, חיים, חיים שאין בהם בושה וכלימה, חיים שלא שנה וכבוד, שתבנו אהבת תורה תורה ויראת שמיים חיים שימלאו משאלות ליבנו לטובה שעשה ניסים לאבותינו וגאל אותם מעבדות לחירות הוא יגאל אותנו בקרוב וקבץ נידחנו מהבכנפות הארץ חברים כל ישראל חברים כל ישראל ונאמר אמן. ראש חודש מנחם יהיה ביום השישי הבא עלינו וכל ישראל
The new month of Menachem Av begins on Thursday evening. It's a one-day Rosh Chodesh on Friday, the last day of the week. May this month of remembrance hold blessing for us and for all the people of Israel.
יחדשי הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ויעל כל עמו בית ישראל לחיים ולשלום לששון ולשמחה לישועה ולנחמה ונאמר אמן.
Please be seated, Ashrei. Page 181.
אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד ילדוך סלע אשרי העם שככה לו אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו תהילה לדוד הרוממך אלוהי המלך ואהבך שמך לעולם ועד גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד ולגדולתו חקר עד כבודותיך ודברי נפלותיך שיחה זכר רב טובך יביאו וצדקתך ירננו טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו הכל מעשיו כבוד מלכותך יאמרו כבודתך ידברו מלכותך מלכות כל עמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור הנה כל אליך יסברו ואתה נותן להם לתאכלם בטוב צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסיד בכל מעשיו רצון יראיו יאסף את שבתם ישמע ויושיעם תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד ואנחנו נברך ימי הטוב יד עולם Hallelujah.
Please rise. Page 183. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hovdo v'leretz v'shamayim, vayarem kevren leyamo, tehila lechol chasidav, libnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah. David. Havul Adonai b'nei dim, havul Adonai kevod ve'oz, havul Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai be'adrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod yirim, Adonai al mayim, Almayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Ba'koach, Kol Adonai Be'ada, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et Arzei Levanon, Vayakidem kemo vegel Levanon veSirion kemo ben re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel hayalot, vayechesov yarot, uvehechalo kolo, Omer kavod, Adonai lemabo yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Uvenocho Yomar Uvenucho Yomar Shuva Adonai Vodadavis Ki lekach tov natati lachem Torati al tazovu etz chaimi lama chazikim ba'vetam derach darchei noam v'chol nedivotah shalom hashivaynu Adonai elecha v'nasheva Yameinu
Please be seated, everyone. A few words. Thank you, Murray. Cantor Simon. Whew, take a deep breath. Okay, it was a difficult stretch for me, trying to write something that was coherent during a very difficult week. You can't hear? Well, I don't have our little mouthpiece didn't work this morning, so I have to get used to the new system. So I had to put something together here, some thought
that related to the Torah portion, related to what I went through this week, and what all of you have at some point in life. And that is, there's a great verse in the Torah that says, it's in the earlier part of the Torah that we didn't read, when it came to the allotment of the tribes in the land of Israel, and then the daughters of Slavcha, they protested because they were cut out of the inheritance. It says in the Torah, before that occurs, Moses says, Al piha goral techalek nachlato, that according to the draw, the luck of the draw, that's the land you're going to get. Sorry, guys, if you don't get pick a good number. We can only have a certain amount of winners. So that sense of precariousness of life, just chance, comes through here. And there are many other references in the Torah to goral, or kind of a fate, a lottery, chances in life. On Yom Kippur, we read about the Azazel and the chance that the Azazel will be good or will be evil. It says, Goral echad l'Adonai v'gol echad la'Azazel. One goes to one goat, one goes to the other goat, and that's part of the fate of life. And that's one of the reasons why we read that particular Torah reading in Leviticus on Yom Kippur. Of course, Purim, the holiday that we have, Purim means lottery. We're in this for a lottery. It's how did Haman decide to kill the Jews in Persia at that particular time? Which is one of the holidays that crazy things happen. I'm a historian, and I love to read accounts about what would have happened if certain decisions were not made. One of my favorite genres of literature, and I'm reading a book about Stalin and World War II, and it's a very important book, but what if Stalin had not made his pact with Hitler 1 week before he invaded Poland? We probably wouldn't have had World War II beginning. It's very likely. What would have happened if Hitler didn't attack the Soviet Union? These are questions raised in the book. What if Hitler didn't attack the Soviet Union, just completely devoured the West? The fact that he did that was probably the beginning of the end of the Nazi regime. So on and on and on in history, there's all kinds of choices made, and then we pick up the pieces, or we rejoice, depending what happens. You get the idea. Masada, you've been there at the top. They took a lottery to see who would kill the remaining Jews who didn't want to surrender to the Romans. So luck, sheer luck, depends what number we get. There are survivors and there are murderers. Of course, we know from Mengele, and by the way, our trip to Poland is shaping up from May 14th to May 23rd. I had a long conversation with Dr. Polanski. This is an opportunity not to be missed. We're going to be in Auschwitz. We're going to see where Mengele decided who was going to live and who was going to die. And I can tell you, most survivors who were the fortunate ones to be in the survivor line always felt guilty. It was like a complete accident. They could have been incinerated in the gas chamber. So there were the lucky ones and there were the unlucky ones. We remember that part of life. So what does this all mean? I want to take it to just another higher level to give you a little bit of an idea of the kinds of philosophical issues that we're going to be exploring this year. And there are basically two polar opposites in philosophical thought about why bad things happen to good people, why things happen in our lives. The one is, I call it the Mesopotamian strain, that became Greek and Roman, kind of disappeared in the Middle Ages. And that was the view it was the classic view, the pagan view, the Plato view, the Aristotle view, that everything was determined. It was all in accordance with the stars. It didn't matter how good you were, how bad you were. You were either lucky or unlucky. Shakespeare picks this up in, I forgot which play, but also, may the gods be with you. These were salutations that were very common in the classical world, and that the future of ourselves, whether we lived long, whether we were healthy, whether we were sad, were determined by the stars. That's why astrology was very important. And we have a remnant of that. It's very interesting in Jewish texts. What do we say? Mazal tov, right? The word mazal, if you should know, means planet. It came from the idea that may the stars be with you, may you have good fortune. And it's interesting, it's discussed in the Talmud. One of the most bizarre comments made by the rabbis is, astrology works for the non-Jews, but not for the Jews. And that is one of the most astounding things in the Talmud. But the rabbis struggled with that, whether our lives were determined by the stars. And look how we've incorporated the words Mazel Tov into our domain. So that's one view, is that you're either lucky or you're unlucky. That's a pagan view. It's a Greco-Roman view. The other extreme really was introduced in Egypt. I call it the Egyptian line, and then became very popular in the Middle Ages. And that was during the time of theocracy, of theocentric thinking, was that everything was determined by God. That from, like we just read about Jeremiah, who was called by God at birth, everything was determined by God. And so if you died young, or you were killed in battle, or whatever, that was ordained by God. This is very prominent in extreme Islamic thought, that everything that happens is fated. There are no coincidences. It's all part of God's plan, and there's no way around it. When your time comes, because that's the way God plans everything. Everything's determined by God. Everything is the work of God. That was a very medieval viewpoint, including in Jewish tradition as well. In our modern period, we know that that is not a great philosophical truth. People who are victims of terror, I've shared with you the example of the terrorists who said the people that were killed in 9/11 were doing God's work. They were messengers of Allah. It's repugnant to hear that the Jews somehow suffered in Auschwitz because it was a punishment from God. You hear that in some very extreme Haredi circles, unfortunately, and I find it very hideous. Accidents take place. Illness takes place. People are in the ICU. It has nothing to do with God's will. God is not a micromanager of the physical world. And the Mishnah makes it very clear that God cannot change facts. You know, there's a great Mishnah that says that if a woman is pregnant and let's say the father roots for a boy to come, you're not allowed to do that because it's already a fact established in the womb. And so the rabbis, Rabbi Akiva said, very interestingly, everything's determined by God, but nothing's determined by God. This tension that existed between free will and our choices and what happens to us. So it's a very important subject, and we're going to be approaching that in full depth during the coming year. But my view on this is, I've been dealing with, obviously, I deal with this all the time, with your pain and death, but certainly hitting home with my own personal pain. And there is a matter of luck and fortune. My mother lived 101.5 years. She had an incredible ability not to get ill during my entire life. It really was something. I think my brother mentioned that when we were all sick, we had illnesses, we were kids. She never got ill. My mother was never ill. She was lucky. She was lucky with that kind of constitution. And she lived a long life. But on the other hand, one of the persons at my mother's funeral was a sister of a very dear friend of mine and my brother's, Jeff Pessis. He was a very prominent lawyer. He's 28 years old, and he was killed in the plane crash that went from Los Angeles to San Diego. His parents were Holocaust survivors, and they lived to 100 years, by the way. They just passed away. So why did my mother live a long life, and Jeff Pessis, who was a really good soul, died so young? He was going to a meeting in San Diego from Los Angeles and never came home. Is it God's will? Is it a matter of just unluck? I don't believe so. my belief is that God does care about what happens here, but does not control our free will and free responses. I believe that God gives us an enormous amount of power to respond to unfortune. That's where the spirit of life comes in. That's where the non-physical comes in. Disease happens. Death happens. But where do we get, and wars happen, and holocausts happen. But where do we get the courage to fight those things and to strive for life? The care of doctors, the care of nurses was extraordinary. My mother had care in her home. You don't know these people, Heidi and Margarita, and I forget, the third one was the overnight one that I never spoke to, but the two caretakers, I was on the phone with them all the time. They were incredible what they did to my mother, and there's no doubt that they extended her life. So how do we measure that enormous response? Is that also part of a powerful God, a powerful God of spirit, not of physicality, who as we say, God is Boreat HaKol. God creates everything because God is ultimately responsible for everything, but God is also with us in our determination to respond to murder. We have a choice. When we're in Auschwitz, you'll see there what people put into place with such great thought and how to kill as many people as possible every day. And it was about 10,500 Jews between January and May of 1941. 10,500 Jews were murdered every single day. And it was well thought out. It was well planned. Why? The question for humanity is, why wasn't that energy used to build hospitals, synagogues, churches, roads, schools? What are the choices that we people make that have been so devastating? Why hasn't humanity heard the voice of God? Which is one of the great questions we have as we lead towards our commemoration of Tisha B'Av. Did Tisha B'Av have to happen? No, of course it didn't. There was sinat chinam, there was needless hatred among Jews and fighting, and also the barbarity of the Romans. None of that had to happen, as the rabbis make very clear. Where is our compassion? Where is our morality? My belief is that my mother has passed. Her physical remains are now not with us, but there's God that allows us to continue to life. Shiva is a limit. Go back to life and continue to do what God wants us to do before it's too late and change the world. And that's why in Judaism, in our faith, we believe that God's with us every day and give us this enormous ability to change what ought to be changed and make this world a better place. I want to finish, I'm kind of rambling with thoughts here, but it's an interesting subject. I want to finish with this story from Jewish lore, and then I'll leave your thoughts to yourself. It's about Chaim. Pick a name. So Chaim wins the synagogue lottery. It began with lotteries. I don't know if we'll ever have a raffle or a lottery. But he won the lottery. His friends came up to him and said, Chaim, how did you win? How did you do it? What number did you play? So then Chaim answers, says, it was easy. I had a dream one night. I saw 7 thin cows and I saw 7 fat cows. Joseph. Who's this Chaim? Is he a member of our congregation? No, just kidding. And then he said, I had a dream, and he said, I saw 7 thin stalks of grain and 7 fat stalks of grain. And then I went for a ride, and then I saw 7 billboards. On each of the 7 billboards were 7 movie stars on all of them. And then I looked in the paper, and I saw that my favorite football team won 7 games in a row. So it was very simple. I figured 7 times 7 is 42. So I bought the ticket number 42 for the lottery. But his friend said, wait a minute, Chaim. 7 times 7 is 49. How'd you get to 42? And he said, no, so buy your own ticket. but the seriousness of that is that we really do buy our own ticket. We make our own fortune. We are partners with God in making the world a better place. God's not a cosmic bellboy. who protects us from all evil fate and disease and whatnot, bad fortune. But God is our partner in helping us fight to make this world a better place, keeping the Jewish people alive, giving honor to our synagogue and goodness. That's what it's all about. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please rise for the Chatzi Kaddish before the Musaf. On page, I forgot all these page numbers here. Page 184.
Yikadash Shemei Rabba
Amen.
Yaman Yivrach Yikutei V'yamnik Malachutei B'chayechon V'echon V'chayei Kol Beit Yisrael V'agalav Zman Kariv Imru
Amen. Yesh Mei Rabba Mevarach Ya'olam Lo Me'amaya Yibarach
Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpavar V'yitrama V'yanasai V'yitadar V'yitalem V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Berichu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alama Be'alma V'yimru Amen V'yimru
Amen. Page 185, we begin the Amidah Musaf Shabbat through the Kedusha, and then we'll continue silently with the remainder of the Amidah through page 192.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'le'avoteinu v'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel
Elohei Leah
El HaGadol L'Gibor v'Yanora El Elyon Gomer
Gomer
Chasadim
Chasadim Tovim
וkonei hakol v'zolcher chesed avot v'imahot מביגוח גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ויעבוד מלך עוזר ופוקד המושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור אלוהים אדוני מחיי מתים הרב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים
ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים
רופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומדו מלך מלך ממית ומחיה ומשמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לך היום מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי
Page 187, Kedusha Nadi, Savadak Disha Kesos, Yasaf Kodesh, Malkishim Shibchal Kodesh.
נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש ככתוב היה נביאך וקרא זה ויאמר
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Lo K'laretz
כבודו.
קדוש קדוש אדוני צבאות מלוך על הארץ
כבודו מלך
כבוד.
שוטף שם יעשה אז יהיה מקום כבודו נמצא ברוך ימינו.
כבודו מלא עולם שרת שואלים זה לזה עיין מקום כבודו שרת שואלים זה לזה עיין מקום כבודו למתן ברוך יומנו
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקום
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו
ממקום יפה ברחמים לכל מקבלי שמו ערב אבו בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמה
ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים ויחונם יחדים שמו ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו פעמיים יבא שמה אומרים
שמה ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ולאלוהינו אבינו מלכנו שנהנה כוחה להיות לכם לאלוהים
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד הוא אלוהינו אבינו ומכנו מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי להיות לכם לאלוהים
אני אדוני אלוהיכם
ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור
ימלוך אדוני לעם ולציון לדור ודור הללויה
לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך ולנצח נצחים
ולנצח נצחים
קדושתך נקדיש לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש בשבחך ולאוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה לדור ודור לדור ודור לדור ודור נגיד קולך ולנצח נצחים ולנצח נצחים קדושתך ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
לקדוש
הקמת שבת.
ואת מוסף יום השבת הזה, והזכירו לפניך באהבה כמצוות רצונך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, בור פניך, ברכנו אבינו, כולנו כאחד ביור פניך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך. כי ביור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ויעבד חסד ויעבד חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת וכושעה בשלומך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני
Yisrael b'shalom.
Amen. Kaddish Shalem, page 203.
Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalem adivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon. U'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. B'gala v'zman karim
Amen. Yesh me'rava me'varara. Yalam alamei amaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalor shemei l'kudusha berichu. Liyei lamiko b'chata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata d'amira mi'alma v'imro amen. Yikabal etzel odon v'odon l'ko Yisrael kodon l'shemaya v'imro
Amen.
Yesh lamo rabo min shemaya v'chayim Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imro
Amen.
Use shalom b'imromav Yaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael
Imru. Amen. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'yakol
Yisrael Yaseh shalom
Yaseh shalom.
Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
In Kelohenu, page 204.
In Kelohenu, in Kadonenu, in Kemalkeinu, in Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, no Leloheinu, no Leladonenu, no Lelemakeinu, no Lelemoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Makeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atau Adonenu, Atau Keinu, Atau Moshienu, Atau Sheikiro Avotenu lefanecha et ketoret hasamim Ekeloheinu Ekadonenu Ekemakeinu
Aleinu, page 205.
עלינו לשבח לאדון כל לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית שלא רצה כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה שלא שמחי כנגהם וגורלנו ככל המון ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ ומושב יגרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינת זו בגובי מרומים ובאלוהינו ואין עוד. הם הכינו את זודתו ככתוב בתורות ידעת על יהושע. הכינו כבוד לך אדוני אלוהינו לרצון. כי המלכות שלך היא ולמעט תמלוך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated. As we remember the yahrzeits of this last week of the month of Tammuz, we remember Benny Schlossman, Hilda Korn, Frida Oldsman, Clara Bernstein, Yetta Lacey, Hilda Bernstein, Benjamin Ginsberg, Ted Asnes, Ruth Spevak Kobrin, Jacob Bork, Edith Haftel, Rose Schaefer Copeland, Irving Levin, Ludwig New, Louis Levine, Hedy Emanuel, May Maslow, Hilda R. Rosenbaum, Ida Rich, Mary Hellman, Samuel Rubinovitz, Max Siegel, Gershon Sparber, Barbara Trobeck, Paula Freund, Estella R. Taylor, Dorothy Jacobson, Max Robbins, William Daniel Rosenbluth, and Harry M. Raymond, all of blessed memory. We remember, we never stop remembering. That's what our Torah portion certainly taught us, and we remember love and memories. So those who are mourning, please join with me. Those remembering yahrzeits as well, here and at home. Page 207, we affirm that love with the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadal Shemei Rabbah. B'yalma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon. B'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach delam lo me'amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach. V'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitatar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei d'kudusha. B'richu. Ve'ela min kol b'chata v'shirata, tush b'chata, v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'bromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Please be seated. Our announcements this week from Jeff Cohen.
Shabbat Sholom and welcome. Thank you to everyone who participated in our services today. And I do want to do a special thank you to everybody that filled in for the rabbi while he was gone. Well, Rabbi, your summer break, some break, huh? Yeah.
COVID and the mother.
Yeah. Especially with the loss of your mother, Dorothy, in California. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and with your family. You conducted a lovely Shiva service here on Thursday evening, and all of us enjoyed your reminiscing about your mom and your life with her. May her memory be a blessing. Just a note, Fran and I accompanied the rabbi on this connecting flight back from Atlanta to Sarasota, just to make sure he'd be here for services this week.
Oh, so that's why you were...
We really did, but we were surprised when we saw him at the gate, and we were surprised and we were happy to see you.
Happy to see you. It's like, home is real.
Yeah, we all made it back.
Use the mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that better? Bima Baskets this week are sponsored by Merrill Haber in honor of her parents on their anniversary. The Kiddush following is sponsored by Sally and Dr. Joel Fetter in memory of Joel's father, Dr. Harold J. Fetter, on this 6th anniversary of his yahrzeit. Just a few more things, and I'll be short. We've had some major facility projects going on, as you can tell. First, the parking lot is repaved. Still to go, a little bit of lighting, a little bit of irrigation, and a little bit of landscaping. But I was told by Elliot today that the parking lot will be open on Monday. However, the building won't be open on Monday.
You can't come.
Yeah. So I was thinking maybe we could have a little tailgate if anybody's interested, and instead of champagne to christen, maybe we'll do a bottle of Milk and David. But at any rate, thank you, Elliot, for all you've done in making this very large project come through, and it looks beautiful. Also, our folding screens behind us are ready for the high holidays. Thank you, Solzats, for all your work in getting that completed. And yeah, an important notice, and it's in your handout. The TBS building will be closed for preventative maintenance with no entry into the building starting on Monday. We will be open for Shabbat services starting Friday evening and Saturday morning as usual. Morning minyan will continue by Zoom Sunday through Friday, 8 to 9 o'clock. And just a note, Thursday from now through the rest of July will be on Zoom only, not in the building. I think that's pretty much it. So, Shabbat Shalom. Now, before, I'm going to give a microphone to our president, Lauren, and we just...
okay, good, yeah, because I...
Introduce a few...
Yeah, we have a lot of new faces here today, so I just want to kind of pass the microphone around so everyone can introduce themselves. I'm going to start on this side and work my way because I see so many new faces. I know, we do. We have so many new faces. And you're following me, okay. Well, I don't consider them new anymore. Really, they're old hats at this point. Julie, do I consider you new?
Oh, well, I mean, this is like my third time.
It's her third time. Okay, you're old hat at this point. I'm going to go over here to Nadia.
My husband is new.
Okay, your husband's new. All right.
I'm Art Cooper-Smith. Glad to be here.
Art and Julie are new members. Yes, okay. Yes.
August 4th.
Oh, that's right. We have a date already. Okay. Good.
Hi, we're Carol and Roy. What? We're Carol and Roy Nierenberg, and we're from Potomac, Maryland. Yeah, no.
Really?
Yeah. But it's been very warm.
I've been to Potomac one time. At the Cynic,
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to think. Anybody else on this side, coming over. Hold on, Rabbi, we got over here, next to Brenda.
Hello, I'm Julie Schechter Bernstein. I live here in Sarasota, and I needed a wonderful healing service for my husband.
Wonderful healing, sir. Her husband's Ron Bernstein. Yes. I know, but you don't have your, all right, okay. All right, just making sure. Okay, well, and then over here, I know we have, Roger, were you introduced last time? I'm not sure. You were? Okay, just a few.
Okay, my name is Ruben Lesage, and then we just moved here from Michigan, and then this is my son. Sebastian Lesage.
Then you're going to be old hat. Now we're not going to introduce you anymore.
I'd like to have your daughters, Chloe, right? Did I get it right? And Tzipora. They're away. I wanted them to come to the with me to have the kiddush. Also, Valda, I know you have a special guest there too. This is your grandson? It'd be nice to have the kids come up. This is a mark of the future. We're going to have kids here. It's wonderful. Josh? Josh, nice to see you. Come on with me. Where do you live? Where? Jerome? Durham. Oh, Durham where? In South Africa? Oh. Durham, North Carolina. That one. There's a Durham, England too, so I was in England, so nice to have you here. Everyone, please rise. Oh, let's finish with a Don Olam, and then we'll do a Kiddush. And we'll get hopefully we'll get your kids, Reuben. Sebastian, you're allowed to come up too. Okay, Adon Olam, what page are we on? Page 211.
Adon Olam, Hashem Arak, B'terem Goy, Tzin Ivran, Yed Nasa, B'ketz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Adon Olam, Hashem Arak, B'terem Goy, Tzin Ivran, Yed Nasa, B'ketz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'yacharei kichlot hakol, v'ado yimloch nora, v'hu haya v'hu hove, v'hu yah v'tivarot Adon Olam. Hashem ana b'ter goy yitzir ivran, yen azah v'ketz hakol, azai melech shemo nikra. Hu echad v'en sheni, la'am shilo le'yachbira, v'li reishit, v'li tachlit, v'lo avos ve'am Yisrael. Adon Olam, Hashem ana b'ter goy yitzir ivran, yen azah b'ketz hakol, azai melech shemo nikra. Hu eidi v'chai goli v'tzochev li b'yitzara, hu nisi umanos li minat kosi v'yom ekra. Adon Olam, Hashem ana b'ter goy yitzir ivran, yen azah b'ketz hakol, azai melech shemo nikra. B'yado afir ruchi, b'yeit ishan v'yawira, v'im ruchi gaviyati, Adonai li elavira. Adon Olam, Hashem ana b'ter goy yitzir ivran, yen azah b'ketz hakol, azai melech shemo nikra.
Beautiful. What ruach here? V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat adon barit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael tili olam, ki sheshit mimasa Adonai et Shemayim v'et haaretz, v'yom hashvi'i shavat v'yinafash, al kein berach Adonai et yom hashava v'yikachehu. Savri baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Drink up. You can drink the whole thing, it's not wine. We wouldn't do that to our youth. Although when I was a kid, we didn't have they always served, when I went to sing, they always had regular wine, the sweet wine. But okay. All right. Guys, ready? We're going to do, what is this called when we recite the blessing over the bread? It's called, you know it. Motzi, the Motzi, Hamotzi, because God brings forth bread from the earth for us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech motzi lechem min haaretz. Little stab of bread there, and let's wish everybody Shabbat Sholom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Come back.
the pros. How are you both doing? How are you doing? How are the kids? Okay? You're doing well?
You did good. You did good. Oops. Motzi lechem and arts.